If you have Qantas points, the chances are you're redeeming them all wrong. Instead of just earning your points and redeeming them on flights willy-nilly, in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you the top 5 redemptions so that you can redeem your points for the most bang for buck. All of the redemptions that I share with you today are going to be amazing value, meaning when you redeem 1 point, you're going to get a lot of value towards that. Now, before we get into the top 5 redemptions, it's important to note what a bad redemption looks like. A bad redemption would be using your points on an economy flight with a low-cost carrier such as Jetstar. Now, redeeming your points on domestic routes on low-cost carrier airlines such as Jetstar will give you really poor value. The same goes if you're doing short distance international trips as well. For example, if you use your points in economy on Jetstar going from Brisbane to Bali, typically you're going to be redeeming your points at about 2 cents per point. The examples that I'm going to show you today are going to help you redeem your points for upwards of 5 cents per point. Some of the redemptions that we're going to talk about today are going to allow you to redeem your points at even 9 cents per point. You can see just how important it is to ensure that you're redeeming your points on these high value redemptions. Instead of redeeming them for 2 cents of value, you can ideally redeem them for 9 cents worth of value. So with that in mind, let's get straight into the first one. Sydney to Los Angeles, and you're going to be wanting to redeem this in a business class cabin. Finding these seats will be a little bit tricky. You'll want to check for last minute availability on Qantas flights. And the good thing is you can use your Qantas points with American Airlines as well. Now, the good news is that Qantas have a ton of routes, so you can fly from Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane to Los Angeles. They also have a Sydney to San Francisco route as well. They're going to be very similar value. All of those redemptions are going to give you all similar value around that 9 cents per point mark. Now, this sort of redemption will set you back 108,000 Qantas points, but you can see here you're getting 9 cents of value per point, which is amazing value. Now, while this first redemption is talking about business class, you'll also get similar redemption value if you can snag a first class seat as well. To get a first class seat, you want to look for Sydney to Los Angeles or Los Angeles to Sydney. That sort of redemption will also unlock about 9 cents worth of value per point that you spend. The second redemption that I want to talk about today is Melbourne to Tokyo. 82,000 Qantas points is required to go from Melbourne to Tokyo. Now, something important about this redemption is to make sure that you are booking a Qantas flight and not a JAL flight, which is Japan Airlines. The reason behind that is because the JAL redemptions actually cost you more points for the same sort of flight value. Now, sure, if you do have a preference to fly JAL, then maybe that'll be better suited for you. But for this example, I'm talking just in how to get the most bang for your buck using your points, and that's going to be by booking through Qantas. When you get this sort of redemption, you'll unlock 5 cents of value for every point that you spend, which is not as good as flying in the first redemption, but still very, very good value considering when we were talking about the first example, which was the economy flight from Brisbane to Bali. That's usually going to be at about 2 cents per point. Now, I've just discussed Melbourne to Tokyo here, but they also fly from Brisbane to Tokyo, Sydney to Tokyo, Melbourne to Tokyo. The reason that I have Melbourne to Tokyo here is because there are flights available on the Qantas website right now, and there are very limited flights from Sydney or Brisbane at the time that I was recording this video. That is the second value redemption. The third one that we're going to discuss is Sydney or Melbourne flying to Honolulu. Now, this is a pretty rare redemption to actually get, but at the time of recording this video, I did see some availability from Sydney or Melbourne through to Honolulu on a Qantas flight. It's very important for this redemption that you don't book a Jetstar flight. The Jetstar business class cabin is nothing compared to the Qantas business class cabin. You want to make sure that you're booking a Qantas business class seat. If you are lucky enough to book a Qantas business class seat to Honolulu, it'll cost you 82,000 Qantas points, and you'll be able to unlock value of about 5 cents for every point that you spend. Those are some of the flights that we are talking about leaving from Australia through to parts of the world. The next flights that I want to discuss are not actually departing from Australia. They're actually flying from different parts of the world through to different destinations. The fourth redemption is Singapore to Paris on Air France in business class. This redemption will cost you 104,000 Qantas points and unlock 6 cents of value for every point that you spend. Now, you can actually double up on the redemptions here, but if you got a flight from Australia through to Singapore first, and then you catch that flight from Singapore to Paris, So this redemption is really useful for people who want to go to Europe. Moving on to the last redemption, we have Helsinki to Tokyo. It's going to cost you 90,000 Qantas points, which will be in business class on Finnair. If you can make this redemption, you're going to get 8 cents per point of value for every point that you spend. This is amazing value for every point that you spend, almost up there with the first redemption, which was going to America on Qantas business class. If you can redeem your points at 8 cents of value per point, that's 4 times as much value as you would otherwise get going economy on Jetstar flights like we first discussed. Now you will notice a trend here with all these redemptions, and that is if you use your points on long haul international business class flights, that will give you the best bang for buck. If you do need help finding these sorts of redemptions, search last minute. Often airlines release a lot of seats last minute if they know that they're not going to be filled. Another thing that you can do is if you're just using the classic and the multi-city search tool on the Qantas website, use a site called seats.aero. This is a third-party site and it will allow you to scan the entire Qantas and Velocity website and a whole bunch of other airlines' websites and help you find those reward seats really, really quickly. If you do want more tips on redeeming your points, be sure to follow this channel because I'm posting very frequently and helping Australians use their points so they can fly business class all around the world. And for even more help, check the link in the description. That's all for today's video. I'll see you in the next one.